Hi everyone, we're Team Franklin Dow, and we're presenting Kairos. We're from the University of Pennsylvania, and today and this past weekend, we've been thinking a lot about how AI reason, validate, and earn our trust. So we call our project Kairos, the Emergent Reasoning Network. We've all seen AI generate great answers, but how often do we take a step and ask, why did it reach that conclusion? The truth is, we don't know. Today's models are black boxes. There's no way to verify their logic and no clarity on their sources, and no trust when their outputs align with our goals. And when you rely on one model to handle complex, multi-domain questions, it falls apart, especially in high-stakes fields like DeFi or governance. And so that's why we built Kairos. Kairos is a decentralized reasoning network. It splits complex queries into modular tasks, sends them to specialized reasoning agents, and validates the results using independent validators. Every step, every logical move, citation, and conclusion is reviewed, scored, and then published as composable intellectual property. Kairos has a couple key modular components. We have our reasoning modules, which specialize in domains like DeFi, macro, or sentiment. We have validation nodes, which check for logic, alignment, grounding, and novelty. We have query orchestrators, which route user queries to the right agents and split complex queries into simpler tasks. And then we have one of our key features, which is our knowledge graph, which connects and structures insights across domains so that our reasoning modules can query off of them and our validators can ensure correct and accurate knowledge. So here's what the pipeline looks like.
We ingest data, RSS feeds, PDFs, or on-chain info, and turn it into a structured knowledge graph. And the user asks a question like, what are the risks to my DAO treasury? The query is split into and routed to the right reasoning modules. Those agents generate structured reasoning, including claims, logic, and sources. Validators check everything, such as, is the logic sound? Is it novel? Is it grounded? It assigns a trust score. If it's high enough, Kairos can even trigger on-chain actions. And finally, the full reasoning path is registered as reusable IP. So this changes everything. In AI safety, we now get transparent, validated reasoning before any model acts. In DeFi, we ditch black box models and rely on logic-first strategies. In science, it's like peer-reviewed research, but for AI outputs. And most importantly, Kairos enables verifiable trust. You get the full chain of logic that got us here, plus a reputation layer for every agent involved.
And now we'll be showing a demo of how Kairos actually works. And so, just as a sample query, the user is able to access a simple LLM-type query prompt, where afterwards, based off of the query and the reasoning modules and validators that are already input, the user is able to access the output from the reasoning modules along with the output from the validators, which comes with trust scores and feedback. And this really allows the user to understand where their data is coming from and how much it should be able to trust the response. Diving a little deeper, we have a number of reasoning modules and validators that are able to access different types of information about the prompts and queries and analyze them on different fronts, giving far more detail to the user to understand truly where and how to use the data that they've been given based off of these queries.
So as you can see here, we get the reasoning results, the reasoning steps, and also like a conclusion that summarizes the reasoning results that the user prompts. And as you can see down here, we get the validation results. And these are from our 4 validation nodes, logical, grounding, novelty, and alignment. And for each validator node, we get a trust score and also feedback.
And yeah, we'd love to dive deeper into questions now, just to elaborate further.
Does anybody have a question?
Yeah, I would love to dive in a little bit just on the eigenlayer and the trust score aspect. What are you actually pulling out of eigenlayer to give you increased trust? What kind of feature?
Okay, so a lot of what we were doing with eigenlayer was just being able to verify the modules and the AI agents' responses. And so we were also working on a system where we can aggregate the trust scores together and come up with, I guess, different weights for the different types of queries you're able to put in and then separate out with our orchestration agents. And then understand that for different types of queries, maybe some validators are more important than others, or some kind of reasoning modules are more important than others. So we were trying to build out a pretty scalable I guess, framework with eigenlayer to allow us to come up with these comprehensive results and also tailor it by query. A judge earlier brought out that some queries could require more creativity, while others would require sticking very deeply to the facts that are given to their knowledge graph and essentially going directly to the knowledge graph and avoiding all hallucinations. So I guess that's the kind of extendable framework we're looking to create with this.
Okay, great, thank you.
Any other questions? If not, well, you can ask another one.
I'll ask since we started in the last one kind of summarizing this way, but in terms of market use cases, like the business aspect, what do you think the success scenario looks like for this?
Honestly, we spent a good amount of time just now thinking about this in conversations with some of the judges. And we really think that success for this can look like, honestly, a number of things. Some of the more, I guess, to the facts fields, such as being a doctor or a lawyer, would deeply benefit from the amount of, I guess, the limiting of hallucinations and the logical connectiveness that we're able to provide with our validators, whereas some more creative fields would require, we could have some temperature adjustments to allow for really abstract thinking as well based off of the knowledge. So I guess the idea is this is a very extensible framework. For now, we were thinking a lot on more strict to the facts use cases, as that would be some of the easiest ways to implement this. But as we continue developing, we hope to be able to also allow for far more creative and I guess inspiration-based use cases as well.
How can you show, I mean, you pretty much, the thesis is because you're using agent swarm, right, and you have this verifiability and you have knowledge graph, you can get better reasoning and better results. How would you show that to kind of the rest of the world, right? So that, what kind of benchmarking can you show, or what kind of evaluation to really, prove and attract more attention to yourself?
Yeah, let me see if I understood your question correctly. From what I understood, we want to, I guess, are you asking what kind of results we can show with this? Okay. So a lot of our framework is based off of recent research in the LLM space and also in this AI agentic space. For example, our grounding module is based off of a recent paper that allows you to limit hallucinations by going exactly back to where in the knowledge each part of a sentence is pulled from in the response. And so that's really what our grounding validator is based off of. It takes your query and goes back and finds where in the knowledge graph each one of those pieces of information and links came from. So with this, we're able to significantly reduce hallucinations. We're able to ensure factual accuracy based off of the data given. And also, I think the validator framework also gives us a very good starting point for how to measure metrics that would be valuable to the user. While I can't say each user wants the same exact metrics, I guess the modular sense of the validator framework would allow for more customization for each user, and a user would be able to define what they find important and then see results in that aspect.
Yes, we're running out of time. We go on? One more? Okay. For one? Okay.
Like in the real business world, in order to deploy a knowledge graph into the business model, we see lots of some constraint on the more contextual information, because we know the relationship between the data, but we need more kind of contextual kind of information together to make better decisions. So do you have some idea to come up with to solve that issue?
Okay, so once again, let me just make sure I'm understanding and answering the question that you asked. So I think you were asking about, so our knowledge graph needs to be scalable, and also by contextual information, do you mean like relationships you can't express in easy like relationship entities, or?
I mean, like the business environment is very complex. So, like, how could we capture all those kind of different type of information in order to make a better decision using the knowledge graph itself?
Yeah. So right now we have a custom defined knowledge graph, which is based off of defining objects and the relationships in between them. Currently it's been doing pretty good on our initial tests with, I guess, representing different sorts of relationships. Moving forward, we might want to move it to a more, like, less locally defined and maybe a larger, more persistent database. The other couple of things we were thinking were on that contextual front is maybe as a upcoming feature would be, for example, in ChatGPT, you can like select your previous prompts or select projects, and maybe we could define local knowledge graphs per each project that you're working on. So if a user uploads certain data to one of their projects, they would be able to access a knowledge graph specifically for that project whenever they want it in the future, rather than confusing it with maybe other projects that shouldn't be linked together. So I think that's where we were thinking of in representing the relationships for now, but I think there's a lot of thought to be had there as well, a lot of different ways we can represent them.
Okay, thank you.
All right, thank you.
Thank you.